Welcome to Nebraska Prep's Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
Another great week. It's NEB Preps with my man Jacob Padilla, and it's always interesting because if I get him the first, whatever time he gets here, I'm monopolizing his time to talk about a lot of other things than what we're doing the pod, but that's just because we like to play catch up, man. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Yeah, trying to squeeze a couple different conversations into a very short pre-show discussion here.
Hey, like next time I think I should just like book you for a couple of hours, as long as we're not around the gym, because I know you're not going to talk to me while you're getting stats, but at least I'll get some time after.
Yeah, I was going to text you about one of the things we were talking about, but I was like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll talk about it in person. And then I get the text, hey, we got to start right away. I'm like, okay. Got
only because my 10:45, I have to like log in, or I have to, you have to type in your thing, and you got an appointment, and it's early, so I'm kind of on the clock.
So let's dive
right in. Like, can I just ask you something that I asked you off pod or off air that I'm curious? Do you think, and maybe it's individual, but how much is too much to take on when you want to gel or try to have some cohesiveness over the 1 month high school period before guys kind of go back to their AAU and split up?
Yeah, I think that's probably the toughest thing to get out of June. And that's not really what you're hoping to get. You're hoping to kind of get it started, but with the amount of kind of change from one, people that are there for the Monday night league may not be the people that are there playing for Thursday. Who may not be there on Saturday for whatever you're in. So it just kind of, you never know who's going to be there. Rarely do you have your whole lineup all month long. And I mean, those that tend to or close to it are the ones that have the most success because that's what their team's going to look like. And especially teams that have brought a lot back. So again, it's more about kind of getting that started, especially with your players that are new to the lineup, whether they're transfers, whether they're coming up from JV, whether they're freshmen, kind of incorporating them into, all right, this is kind of what varsity basketball feels like. It's a little different. You're not scouting reports and all that like you're going to see during the regular year. But the level of competition, the athleticism, the what coaches are asking of you, that's all there. So you can, that's kind of the biggest thing I think you can get out of June, because again, like the results, they don't matter. It depends on who's there, matchups, kind of just sometimes teams don't play well, as we talked about in the that very first Miller North deal. Round robin and teams beating each other, just results, and that's like
that was between Miller North Central and Prep.
And like I tweet about scores because I mean they're there and someone's keeping score, but that's the least important part of what I'm there for in June. It's more about, all right, who's playing well and what does this look like?
So for this past week, you got a chance to make quite a few rounds. Was that 3 or 4 different sites you were at?
So I guess because we got to loop in the entire week here, I was at Prep I was down in Lincoln on Thursday for the Lincoln Summer League.
I love the tweet too. Hey, just stopped in, wanted to catch up on. I'm like, my man just made a conscious effort to drive to Lincoln to get some games in. It's not like it was on his way to the grocery store and he's like, hey, let's go hop in the gym and see what's going on. Like, I mean, that's commitment.
Yeah. I was there on Thursday. Then Friday started at Creighton Prep for the prep portion of the Prep Boys Town Shootout, and drove over to Creighton for the start of their team camp. Well, not start, it started earlier in the day, but the night session of their Friday portion of the team camp. Went back there on Saturday. Then Monday, I went over to the Papio South pod of the new Prep Varsity Monday Night League. 4 teams that were there playing. So,
do you like the fact that it seems to have gravitated more towards the high school sites as opposed to like a Fieldhouse or a UBT? Or
for my purposes, no.
I know, right? Because we used to be able to get it all under one roof,
and that's the deal. Like again, it's kind of like you go there. There are 4 teams there, and that's all you get to see. 2 games between 4 teams. They play a game and they swap opponents, and they play a game. Whereas OSA. Out there at a UBT, you've got
6 courts, and you could just walk around and see them all.
5, 6, 7, 8 right now. You got games going on out there, and 6 courts going on at the same time. So you can kind of walk from one to the next. You can see more, and that's really for this Monday night league. Like,
I know I'm locked in the West Side watching just the 2 teams travel, and it's like, man, after it's like 15 or 18 or whatever points, it's like I'd love to be able to mosey on over and see what, like, let's say whomever's doing, right?
Yeah, there was only one semi-competitive game out of the 4 at Padilla South.
I didn't see any
on Monday. Yeah, so that's the downside of it. And again, like with these varsity leagues, the one where you're in every week and you're playing multiple games, those are the ones I like to just kind of float around and see a little bit of everybody, just to get a better feel for, all right, who's playing with them, kind of maybe seeing some individual players that I might not get to see a ton of. Like that was part of the good thing about going down to Lincoln, seeing a few people there. So that's what I like of that. And then I like kind of supplementing that with, okay, the weekend deals where I'm sitting down, I'm watching full games, I'm taking stats and all that, just to kind of get that mix of, all right, seeing as much as they possibly can, but also still like sitting down and watching full games and understanding, all right, who did what in that game versus just seeing a couple minutes here and there.
Well, all right, let's start in Lincoln.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Impressive showing from Crete. Again, I think they're definitely going to be right there in the mix in B.
Last year was not an accident, right? Yeah. We agree on that. That was building.
Yeah, and they've got some good front court size, and man, but the story was Aiden McDowell, senior guard. He
good athlete.
So again, like I'm not sitting there charting the whole games or whatever, but I was told that he put up 39 against Lincoln Southwest. That's pretty good. 39 points in a summer league game.
Yeah, that would be great against you and I.
Yeah.
Well, so for sure, me. I don't know about you. You probably get some stops. Me, not so much.
Yeah. So one of the refs came. I was standing with Midland assistant Cam Shookned, and one of the refs came over and said, "Hey, you better be watching this number 11 or whatever." It's like, okay, must because I was bouncing back and forth. It's like must be playing well. And then,
by the way, how about Midland's presence?
Yeah, they've been everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Yeah, whether it's Tyler himself, Cam. I saw their GA at Padilla South on Monday. So credit to them and that new staff trying to.
They work.
Trying to put down those roots and establish those relationships. Obviously, Tyler already a little bit, but
he's
a little different when you're recruiting for a D1 versus the NAI. So you got to kind of expand that more, even if he's someone that is known a little bit more than like a brand new coach coming in. But yeah, so Aiden McDowell was really good. Southeast, they got a little trippy between Southeast and Southwest.
It's going to be like that with the Lincoln schools. We now have some bitterness and some rivalries. A lot of folks changing addresses. It's personal for some.
Yeah, you got multiple former Knights on Southwest. You got multiple former Silverhawks on Southeast. Southeast got the better of that one, won that pretty handily. They look pretty solid down in the league. I think they were 4-1 overall. Pius, Lincoln Pius, the 10th there. Looking pretty good. They got obviously Trayson Anderson in the middle, who just committed to North Dakota State. Congrats to him.
Good get for them early. I thought he may let it play out a little.
And probably didn't hurt that he has former teammate Sam Hostreiter up there, probably in his ear a little bit, saying, "Hey, come join me up here."
Yep.
So he found a good spot and decided, you know what? All right, I'm good on this.
And he's a loyal guy, right? I mean, a lot of people tried to get him to come play with them in the summer, and he has his AAU team, and that didn't waver. He wanted to get him out of Pius. That, I mean, he seems to have a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Pius isn't at full strength. So Adam Cersei was starting guard last year. He's injured. Michael Haith was out of town. He's a junior that will play for them this year. And then they look good with shooting around Trayson, with Kellen Hum, with Drew Drake getting in the paint and making plays.
He's kind of Drake is kind of creative.
Yeah.
He gets to these weird spots on the floor. Like I like kind of his feel for the game.
Yeah. So they look good down in Lincoln, and then forward to the prep on Thursday or on Friday. And unfortunately, Trayson rolled his ankle early on. And
you were in the catbird seat. I was looking at a couple of your shots from Twitter. You could cover all the courts.
Well, there wasn't really an option there. Seating was because they're using all 3 courts, so you got to kind of have to I was sitting down on the main court. I was sitting down in the bird cage, but if I was watching games on either side, I had to be up top looking down. So another Cohen Sand at Lincoln Christian, I saw he's back. He spent a year at Lincoln East. He'll help them and get a kind of chance to be a significant player for them. I guess that's probably the standouts from Lincoln, just Pius and Southeast in particular. Southwest, problem with Southwest is just with who they have available with none of their baseball kids. They're just so small.
Yeah, we saw that at Westside on Monday.
Yeah, just like all those small guards are good players, but it's just hard to have a well-rounded team when you're playing a bunch of those guys together. So it's basically Frager and then a lot of sub 6 foot guards playing around him for the most part right now. They've got some Jackson Carpenter football.
He is such a good
Chamberlain.
He's such a good athlete.
And that's the thing with a physical, strong, good athlete. Carter Chamberlain is a senior, more mature, obviously baseball kid. They got Reed Nagel, 6'4", probably the tallest player for them outside of Frager, and he hasn't been there either. So that's kind of like Southwest. What it looks like now isn't necessarily. I think it's more of a trial run, figuring out, all right, what's kind of the hierarchy of these guards, who's going to be able to help us this year, who maybe has to keep working to bide their time once we get everybody back together in the high school year. But
how do you think the Cruz BJ thing works out?
That'll be interesting. That's something that Coach Ba and that staff are going to have to work through, and the players coming back, trying to figure out, all right, how can we put these guys in the best position to be successful? They just got to focus on not trying to do too much. That's the key for them. I know in that in the Bryan shootout, like the first game, Jackson had 6 assists, only 1 turnover. Like, focus on making plays and making the right play. You can be really impactful that way. I think he had like 6 boards in that too, like maybe 10 points, and then maybe turned it over a little bit more than he completed assists in the other games after that I saw. So it's kind of same thing with BJ, where his hints have tough shots, but you got to make sure you don't fall into, all right, no pass possessions where you're trying to cook your man, as opposed to just running offense and making the game easy on yourself and your teammates, especially at that point guard spot. So again, new guys coming in, that's always something you're going to have to work out there. And that's what June is for.
You're taking a look at some guys that may be flying under the radar, but are garnering some collegiate interest. Guys like, we've talked about Cade Cook a couple of times. There are guys like that we kind of forgot were in relatively new places. Are there some guys out there like that have drawn your interest? You referenced Boys Town, where you may have some guys that are kind of flying under the radar, and it's like, oh yeah, they're back playing at this school that maybe kind of have your attention?
I don't know if I saw anybody this week that we haven't already talked about. I think we've hit on a lot of the main ones. Papio South, they were pretty impressive on Monday night. I think they hit 14 threes in the first. I walked in.
If you don't scout them and you just go to play pickup, you will get drilled.
They played Lincoln East in their first game on Monday. I walked in so they scored 23 points in the first quarter. The first 21 were on threes. Yeah. Their first 7 buckets were threes.
You don't touch ball in those guys, and you let Reese dribble.
Yeah,
they'll get you.
So West Frost, I saw also
another changing addresses that kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah, so I was kind of getting at it. Papio South also beat Westside at Prep on Friday, and again, obviously Westside still playing without Caleb, but they got pretty much everybody else. So it was a low scoring game, but in that game, West Frost had 11 points. Hit a big 3. He scored most of his points in the fourth quarter late there to get going. And Jacob Young from Millward West scored 10 points in the second quarter to get them off to 10 of their 16 points there to keep that thing tied at halftime. So a couple of guys that maybe mentioned, but weren't on kind of the first wave of transfer discussion. You mentioned Cade Cook, man. He he is going to be so big for them because they don't have much in the front court outside of him. He just inhaled rebounds for them. Didn't play great offensively at the Creighton Team Camp, but man, just cleaning the glass, handling the ball.
He can do a lot of different things because he grew so fast, but he still has those backcourt tendencies from when he was a smaller guy. Now he's 6'6" and he's playing in the front court.
100%. So they didn't have Alex Wilcoxon at the Creighton Team Camp, so they got some young guys, some playing time up with the varsity level. But Landon Pekorski, pretty darn good, even without Wilcoxon. Alec Wilkins as well played well, and then again, Cook just kind of doing a little bit of everything, just cleaning the glass, and like I said, again, handling it, allowing Pekorski to play off the ball a little bit or to push in transition, and then to get him so he can attack a defense again, kind of in transition. So allows them to do a lot of different things. So that's kind of Prep was really impressive at their team camp. The first game was against Bell West.
Trinnell and Clausen, plus with a young backcourt where you have the potential to be dynamic. They're interesting. I don't know about their depth, but they have some serious matchup problems if they want to play that way with Trinnell and Clausen.
Yep, 100%. I mean, they combined for 24 points, 12 rebounds, 6 steals, 2 blocks against Bell West in that. One in overtime, 69-61, and they shut out Bell West in the extra period, won at 8-0.
Let me ask you something about Bellevue West real quick. I got into this great debate Thursday before leaving for Chicago. Will you, even with all that they have returning in experience, will you see it show up that Coach Woodard is no longer on the bench, or Josiah Dotzler is over there on Dodge Street?
Yeah, the latter, you'll definitely see it, and that's why I think it's going to, I mean, obviously we'll see kind of the impact Woodard has, and not going to show up in June because Coach Klein did most of the coaching in June anyway.
And I said Dotzler, and it was no disrespect to Woodard because he's my favorite, but Josiah did so much, even though they bring a ton back.
And a lot of those guys played for Woodard, so they know all those kind of the way that he wants you to play that's ingrained in those guys coming back. So this first year, maybe there's moments here or there where Woodard would have done something different, but I think for the most part, Klein's a good coach. They'll be able to, with this group, kind of carry over a lot of that continuity. But the difference, and that's why I've kind of, when people ask me what it's going to be like, who's going to be the favorites, is I think it's going to be more open than it's been for years.
I mean, I'm in complete agreement with you, but I still think Bellevue West starts out as one. But you're right. This will be very wide open.
100%. But the difference is you don't have high major seniors running around like we have the last several years. Either multiple D1 guys on one team, or
that's a good
high
point.
Major guys kind of leading the point, like Josiah Dotzler, like Jason Green, like obviously Chucky Hepburn and
Hunter
Will
Salas.
Kyle, Hunter Salas, and St. Thomas, and all those guys. So you don't have that kind of high end talent. So it'll come down to, all right, the more complete teams, the just really good high school players. In Bellevue West obviously has Jay Jackson as well, who is a D1 player, even if he's not necessarily going to Creighton or somewhere like that, or Gonzaga or whatever. I definitely think Bell West starts from that point. But I don't think they're going to beat everybody by 20 this year in every single game. One other shout out, Norris. We talked about they're going to be good in B. I talked about Crete.
100%.
Saw them at the Creighton Team Camp.
And I'm telling you, they got an incoming freshman class that's legit too.
And they might even be a year away. Like, imagine they don't have a whole lot in the senior class.
I'm with you. We are in lockstep on Norris. They've got a good group coming. Well,
all right.
I tell you what, how are we going to split up this next week?
Good question, because I'm going down to Kansas City with Sauter. So we'll see the girls on Friday and the boys on Saturday.
So you're just going to post up at Hy-Vee Arena?
Yep.
Why are we going to be in the same place?
Fortunately, there are a bunch of teams down there. So
the schedule sucks, right? Did you read, just finding the teams it's not the most user-friendly deal.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we're all under one roof.
That's why I put it all in my notebook and try to organize things and figure it out from there.
Yeah, it's you heard the music. I think we can still hear the music. Sometimes I just hear
I think
it
we talk through it.
Sometimes, well, he doesn't have to kill it. That's the good thing about being a good producer. Shane, just to make me feel better, can we get some of the end music?
Hey,
there we go. Another fantastic
Feeling
week.
better?
Yeah, I feel better.
We'll stop talking now.
We will be in Kansas City together this weekend. That's Jacob Padilla. I'm Damon Benning. It's another episode of Nebraska Preps Postgame. Be with us next week. Don't you miss it.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.